Wilson Morales from Black Film and TV. Hello, Destry. How's it going?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. So, congrats on this movie. I was watching it. It's like I wonder where it's gonna go. It's definitely, you're caught up to the very end. Let's go back to the beginning. Why this story?
Why this story? I was, sorry, I've been a little sick. I was looking for my first feature, and I originally didn't want to make a horror. That wasn't on my list. Um, Preferably, I want to do psychological, and I had gotten the script and I put it at the bottom of the pile, and um, and when I got to it, it was such an incredible read. It was such a fast page turner. And I loved the dynamic with all the kids. I loved, um, Michelle Dockery's character, and it it just I could truly see it in my head, every shot, every moment as I was reading, and to me that was such a gut instinct, and I just knew like this is it. This is the one I'm gonna make.
As you're putting this in production, what were the challenges you faced so that way you don't follow certain tropes that we expect from horror films or psychological films?
I think that I just truly go with my gut. I don't overthink. When I went into this film, I wasn't trying to like purposefully do anything different. I wasn't trying to, you know, make a big statement or change the game. I just was going in with sort of what I like as a director and what my, how I processed prep and pre-production and post. And again, it just really is, I would say, instinctual. Um, and yeah,
Uh-huh. And then, putting together your cast, you got Michelle Dockery, you got a lot of newcomers in here, which is great because you don't know what you're going to get from these people, especially with Michelle. We've seen her work others, but you haven't seen her in this sort of genre, you know, and so like you don't know what you're going to get out of these characters. What did you want them to bring to the table?
I wanted them to come to the table with sort of their own take on their character. Of course, I had sort of an idea of how we wanted each character to sort of um, approach or how each character was on camera and like was in the story. But I gave the actors a lot of opportunity to come to me with their thoughts. And, there were moments where at first I thought, I wanted Seth was going to be sort of this really annoying, sort of an older brother like, just rebel kid. And then when I met Josh Melnick, who plays Seth, he just had this sort of internal emotion about him. And even though it was the complete opposite of what we had originally wanted for that character, it was like it just worked. So again, I think things come naturally um, through the process, and as long as you let everyone kind of collaborate and have a say, I think it all works out in the end.
What did you change differently from the script? Because there's the script and then there's your direction.
Mhm.
Obviously, you said you read it, you saw it in your head, but then you have to add your skills to it so that way it feels a little bit different. Because not everybody just goes by what according to is the script, whether it's original or adapted.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's why when you get the assembly cut, you panic because it's what's on paper is not always going to be exactly what you thought when you see it in assembly. And that's where you kind of have to, you have to problem solve. Or you could have an idea and a certain scene could not be the way that you pictured it. And you could cut, you could make it entirely shorter. Um, you could slow it down. You could even cut it. There's a scene in there that we had created um, with an accidental like recording with the cameras because where the sort of the timeline of the script, there was sort of this middle piece that was just not working in the order that it was. So we needed to flip it. And in order to do that, we needed a middle section that we didn't actually shoot. So we like scrapped through all the footage and we found just accidental rolling tape that worked perfectly to create a fake scene, just with sound design and just a couple little tweaks here and there.
At the end of the day, there's a lot of projects that's coming out in the summer, whether it be in theaters or on streamers or on networks. It's a decision of the artist is like, what's going to get us interested. Obviously, let's get the elephant out of the room. Your last name is going to be an attraction to coming in here if we don't recognize the rest of the cast. For you coming into the direction world, is this the lane you want to fall into? So that way we know what to. So we say, oh, okay, she's now following in the family footsteps of being into entertainment world. This is the lane she's going to be in. We're excited to see what's next.
Are you asking if I want to
Is it?
continue?
Is it? Yeah, yeah. What sort of projects are you looking to do next?
Oh yeah. Well, definitely directing is what I want to do forever. That is a fact. And of course, in terms of genre, I think I want to try, I want to kind of try everything. I definitely want to stay in the wheelhouse of psychological thriller, sort of things that are creepy or just unsettling, whether it's, talking about trauma, whether it's talking about murder, I like dark. Um, but of course, I think one day I'll probably want to make a comedy or I'll want to make a drama. But for now, I think I'm trying to stay a little bit in the genre wheelhouse.
You've done a short film. You've now got a feature film. What did you learn from these projects that helps you out skill set wise as a director moving forward to whatever project you do next?
Patience. Lots and lots of patience and taking your time and not rushing anything. That I think was one of the biggest takeaways from both of them.
Congrats on this movie. Obviously, it's a genre we all follow, and we always want to see, like, we know what we're going to expect. Whenever you see this type of movies, it's like 10 Little Indians, who's gonna make it out.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
a matter of the execution, and how
Yeah.
well it's done. So congrats on this. Looking forward to see what's next. Keep it going. We'll talk down the road.
Thank you so much.